From Dusk Till Dawn tells the story of criminal gecko brothers and their violent rampage across America to get to the Mexican border. The bank robbing and murdering siblings are on a race against time for their freedom as the authorities closes in on them. Seth Gecko, played by George Clooney, is more professional and doesn't like killing unless he has to. Whereas his brother, Richard Gecko, played by Quentin Tarantino, is a downright psycho who suffers schizophrenic delusions and wouldn't think twice before resorting to violence. Along the way, the brothers take a small family hostage in order for them to drive them to Mexico in their camper van. Jacob Fuller, played by Harvey Keitel, is a retired preacher who has lost his faith in God, who is going across country with his 2 teenage children. Once in Mexico, the Geckos and Fuller family attend a rough truckers bar in the desert called the Titty Twister, where the Geckos must meet their rendezvous, where lo and behold, the rough night spot is run by bloodthirsty vampires, evil creatures of the night, where our main protagonists must fight to save their lives and send these evil bloodsuckers back to hell. Released in 1996, From Dusk Till Dawn continues the violent pulp style of filmmaking that Tarantino had previously done with Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction, and gives it a supernatural twist. And director Robert Rodriguez gives it that fast edge action and shootout scenes on par with his previous movies, El Mariachi and Desperado. Hey, I love this movie. It's unique and it's different. I mean, what's not to love? And it was the start of the exploitation homage movies that Tarantino and Rodriguez would go on to make. For its time, From Dusk Till Dawn was actually quite revolutionary, as first-time viewers never expected the violent thriller to suddenly become a vampire movie. So to celebrate this movie, we are going to look into 10 things that you may not know about From Dusk Till Dawn. So ramblers, let's get rambling!
Everybody be cool. You be cool.
Number 10, From Dusk Till Dawn started off as a Tales from the Crypt movie. The idea of From Dusk Till Dawn came from filmmaker and special effects artist Robert Kurtzman, who previously worked on the special effects for Night of the Creeps, A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Predator and Evil Dead 2. After conceiving the idea, he commissioned Quentin Tarantino to write a script. Universal Pictures then showed interest in the From Dusk Till Dawn script, as the studio was interested in making it part of their theatrical Tales from the Crypt series, which started with Demon Knight. Incidentally, also at that time, there was also interest to release Peter Jackson's Frighteners as a Tales from the Crypt movie too. However, Universal went with Bordello of Blood to be the next entry in the Tales from the Crypt movie series, and instead Dimension Films came on board to distribute From Dusk Till Dawn, who would also distribute Wes Craven's Scream the very same year as From Dusk Till Dawn. Number 9. Reason behind the green blood. From Dusk Till Dawn features one of the best vampire beatdowns seen on film, in which we see a completely satisfying, brutal vampire massacre. However, as we all know, the vampires in the movie all have green blood, and this wasn't done because vampires are non-human creatures of the night either, but to avoid a hefty film rating. Had the vampire death scenes featured gushings of red blood, then the movie would have been faced with an NC-17 rating, meaning strictly no one under 17 would be able to watch the movie. So to avoid this rating, it was decided that the vampires bleed green. I always thought it was kinda cool that the vampires had green blood anyway. Number 8. How George Clooney got on board. George Clooney may be a charming and dashing, highly respected actor nowadays, but back in the primitive days of 1996, he was a scruffy, brutal, no-nonsense criminal, thanks to his role as Seth Gecko, which was his first major movie role. However, the story as to how Clooney got on board is just as fascinating as From Dusk Till Dawn itself, as he got the role when Quentin Tarantino directed an episode of ER. Yes, I am serious. Tarantino actually directed an episode of ER. For those who don't know, ER was a popular medical drama of the 90s which shot Clooney into stardom. And it was in a 1995 episode when the unlikeliest of directors, Quentin Tarantino, came on board to direct an episode called Motherhood. So, I guess we can add the Motherhood ER episode to Quentin Tarantino's filmography. And I guess that Tarantino and Clooney really got along well. And thus Tarantino offered Clooney to star as someone who puts people in the ER, rather than saving them to get them out. Number 7. Tarantino's first paid script. By 1996, Quentin Tarantino had quite an impressive script writing resume under his belt, having written Reservoir Dogs, True Romance, Pulp Fiction, and Natural Born Killers. However, From Dusk Till Dawn was his first paid job. Yes, despite the genius of Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs, it was From Dusk Till Dawn when someone decided it was maybe time Tarantino was paid for his scripts. But I guess it wasn't that much of a victory, as he only received $1,500 for it. Still, $1,500 would buy him a heap of Big Kahuna burgers. Speaking of which... Number 6. Set in the same universe as other Tarantino and Rodriguez movies. In From Dusk Till Dawn, we see that Seth Gecko's burger of choice for when he is on the run is Big Kahuna burgers, which were also seen in Pulp Fiction, to which Jules refers to them as the cornerstone for every nutritional breakfast. Also in From Dusk Till Dawn, we see Tom Savini glugging down some Chongo beer, which was seen in Desperado. And Sheriff Earl McGraw, played by Michael Parks, who met a grisly end at the start of the movie, would return in Kill Bill. Even though Kill Bill came out after From Dusk Till Dawn, I like to think his scenes happened before he was murdered in From Dusk Till Dawn. But the character then comes back in Rodriguez's Planet Terror. So who knows, maybe the character is just immortal. Point is, the evidence is pretty conclusive that most of Tarantino's and Rodriguez's films have a shared universe. Number 5. The Forgotten Sequels. Okay, technically they are prequels, but yeah, back in 1999 there were 2 straight-to-video From Dusk Till Dawn follow-ups, which have now become sorta forgotten. From Dusk Till Dawn 2, Texas Blood Money stars Robert Patrick and has a cameo by Bruce Campbell. It is about a bank robbery gone wrong in which vampires turn up thanks to an encounter at the Titty Twister. It didn't exactly leave an impact on me and I found it very forgettable. However, the third one I actually really found to be pretty damn good and brings back the feel of the first movie. From Dusk Till Dawn 3, The Hangman's Daughter is set in the early 1900s, giving the movie a western feel, where once again we see an outlaw on the run, where he makes it to an inn, which ends up becoming the Titty Twister, where once again vampire shenanigans ensue. But what I like about the third one is it expands the mythology, and even explains some of the mysteries behind the original From Dusk Till Dawn movie, particularly surrounding the Titty Twister. My advice is, if you're curious about these movies, skip the second one, but definitely check out the third. Then of course there was the 2014 remake TV series. I never saw the point in that series, to be honest, as I thought that the original movie said everything that needed to be said. It didn't need to be made into a TV show. But hey, that's just my opinion. Number 4. From Dusk Till Dawn couldn't beat Mr. Holland's opus, and Ireland. From Dusk Till Dawn was released in January 1996, and it opened up at the number 1 spot in the box office, making over $10 million in its first week in the US. However, during its second week it fell behind the movies Mr. Holland's Opus and Bed of Roses. I guess movie audiences wanted to see less vampire splatter and more of Richard Dreyfuss being a musical teacher. From Dusk Till Dawn generally got positive reviews from critics, although some critics felt that the movie loses its edge and creativity when the vampires show up, turning it into a generic vampire movie, which personally I disagree with. However, From Dusk Till Dawn was actually banned in Ireland by the Irish Censorship Board for being, quote, irresponsible and totally gratuitous with its use of violence. But despite this, From Dusk Till Dawn would go on to make over $53 million on a $19 million budget. Number 3. Inspiration for the design of the Titty Twister. The Titty Twister is an interesting place. Although it's been draped in neon lights to entice victims into the establishment, it still looks like something ancient, something with a long and brutal history, something sinister that has survived throughout the ages, still feeding on the here and now. And I love that scene at the end where we see the Titty Twister is actually a huge ancient temple. Well, the design of the Titty Twister was designed after the creepy end-of-the-world hangout scene at the end of Apocalypse Now. You know, that place where Marlon Brando's Walter Kurtz resides? I always felt that in Apocalypse Now, that when that temple is first seen, it's like we really have come to the end of the world. And I'm guessing that might be why the Titty Twister was designed after the place. It's the creepy place that resides after the realm of civilization. In other words, a place beyond beyond, where no rules apply. Number 2, there was a From Dusk Till Dawn video game. For all of you who wondered, why on earth wasn't there a video game based on From Dusk Till Dawn? After all, shooting up vampires seems like the perfect recipe for video game soup. Well, there actually was. Released on Windows in 2001, it was a first-person shooter which was released by Cryo Interactive. What's really interesting about the game is that it actually acts as a sequel to the first movie, following the exploits of Seth Gecko, where Seth is now in jail for his crimes, but manages to get out when vampires posing as inmates try to get him in jail, where he must go on a vampire killing spree. The game is fun and the graphics are actually pretty good. It's a shame that the game was never released on PlayStation or any of the other bigger platforms, because it never really caught on. Number 1, casting possibilities. As mentioned, Clooney was offered the role of Seth Gecko after Tarantino worked with him on ER. However, before Clooney landed the role, other actors considered for the role of Seth Gecko included Tim Roth, John Travolta, Michael Madsen, Steve Buscemi, and Christopher Walken, all of whom turned down the role due to scheduling issues. Wow, just imagine Christopher Walken in the movie. Also, both Tim Roth and Steve Buscemi were offered the small role of the ill-fated Pete Bottoms, the store worker who meets a grisly fate at the hands of the Gecko brothers at the very start of the movie. But once again, they were unable to take on the role. However, despite these actors unable to perform in the movie, it is still what it is, and it's perfect the way it is. Okay guys, well that was my look into From Dusk Till Dawn, the action vampire movie that you can really sink your teeth into. Oh my god, could I sound any more like a movie trailer? Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this in-depth look into the history of this amazing movie. It's bloody, it's violent, it's awesome, and I'm Minty, signing off. See ya.